Okay, I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakat Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who teacheth the Bible in 100% truth. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes of Israel, especially the 144,000, who consist of the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in the land of the Americas, as well as the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners living amongst the other nations. Shalom to you. Okay, today I'm going to speak about my experience. I mentioned it in the previous video. I had this video, I've had all these tabs open for pretty much a week, and every day I've tried to make this video, and for some reason, some sort of issues come up. So, Lord willing, I'm sat down today. I've just sat down. I've come in from work. I ain't really gone through it to plan it in my mind, but I'm just gonna hit it and see, let the spirit take control. But yeah, I'm gonna speak about the vision. I've explained it before. How I came to this truth, how I came to the understanding that I have of the Bible, how I came to it. It was through an encounter with Yahweh Shai. What you read this book called the Bible, and it's pretty much centered around the Most High and His Son, and that same figure is the figure that came and gave me understanding on the book. So that's where I kind of learned it from, and then obviously from there, coming across the prophets of GMS, and they are able to break down the Bible and how to decode the Bible, and then lo and behold, the way they decode it is exactly how it was shown to me from Yahweh Shai. So I hate to sit here and speak about my own experience and whatever else, but for what I've figured, it's all down to faith. Yahweh Shai controls everything, so you have to ask yourself, why am I in this situation? Why am I here? Why do I have this to speak about? Even though, and I don't really want to sit here and speak about myself, but then it all comes back down to faith. This is what it's all down to. So you're reading this book, you're believing, it's broken down to you in a certain way, decoded to you, like I say, from the men of GMS. That's the only reason why you should be here listening to this. If you don't believe it, that understanding, then you shouldn't be here. But the scriptures are broken down to you. You're told pretty much this is why you're living in such a terrible state, being an Israelite at the minute, 2026. But this is the way out of it. And the way out of it is through salvation, through the Son of the Most High, who came. He's put on a cross, so on and so forth, and he's coming back to deliver his people. Out of his people, mainly a particular group of people. He's going to judge everybody on earth, and as well as the rest of his people that he does not deliver. And only those that get delivered will escape the judgments that are coming. And then when the ICBMs, what the Bible refers to as the Day of Judgment, is the day America gets destroyed. Nuclear ICBMs start to fly. The earth will rock to and fro, and that's the moment at which those elect, the ones to be delivered by the Messiah, the Son of the Most High, that's known as the Day of Judgment. And so we're fast approaching all that, and I'm kind of breaking it down in layman's terms, and you'll understand why in a minute. So you're believing in that power, and like I said, and you then have faith. You believe that you see things through the Spirit. You read the scriptures, and it says you will recognize the Spirit through the Spirit, pretty much. So you say you do that. I can't really prove that. Nobody else can prove that. You say you saw 144. Does that really mean anything? Well, we'll find out at some point if it really does. But this is what's ultimately brought you here. So you have all these things these things that you gather together, you build it up, and then that's pretty much your faith. You hold on to that. Some of you go out on the street and teach. You believe you have the spirit of a prophet upon you to speak these things, to say what's going to come to pass, and then they come to pass. So it's all about faith, and we're coming to the time where that MOTB, World War III, they're going to kick into gear, and throughout the whole time, throughout the whole history of humanity, from let's just say the time of Noah to now, Noah had a lot of faith to do what he did. Is there faith, as the scriptures tell you, is there faith going to be faith on the earth when Yahushua returns? There will be a little piece of faith, and that little bit of faith are the people believing that they're going to escape all these troubles and ultimately be delivered. So when I give you my, for example, stories, it's ultimately to build up faith. You read in the book and you read about men who've had experiences with angels or with Yahushua or with the Most High, and you read it and you read it again and you read it again and you read it again, and it ultimately builds up your faith. You get a picture, you understand what's happening in your mind, you understand where that spiritual power got lost through the ages, but you understand that the Most High is bringing it back to us. We're finding out information that the powers that be have tried to keep from us. But how are we able to give you this information? If they're keeping it from us, it's because the Most High endows us with the Spirit to see things. The ancient prophets were called seers. So that's why I go over these certain experiences. See, I don't need the faith from the situation. You think you got to put yourself in the mind of, I'm speaking to you in the mindset of a prophet. And if you think of, for example, Apostle Paul, Apostle Paul didn't walk around worried about whether he's going to be delivered. He knew that Yahushua was dealing with him, so he then took what he had to give to other people to build up their faith. Apostle Paul wasn't going around on these trips building up his own faith. He gave the understanding or his experiences or things happened in front of people, and he did it in the name of Yahushua, and so ultimately it builds up their faith. He didn't do it for himself. So if you think about it, he knew he would be delivered in the time of salvation because he had Yahushua working with him. So he knew too much not to know that. It's pretty obvious to him. So that's why I speak about these experiences, and then what's brought me to it today is two things. One is Apostle Tahar. He a few weeks back, probably about a month ago now, he made a video and he brought out this one. You can see it there, Official New Babylon. This Lego series, these Lego episodes that are coming out of Iran, AI. You've probably seen them. And there's this one particular Lego video made, which is about the Iranians are pretty much speaking to the so-called black people in America, basically saying you live over there, these people oppress you, they keep all these secrets from you, they do all this. They're pretty much mocking America because what they're doing is, it's like me saying to you, oh, is that your girl? Well, your girl was out last night with this man, and the night before I saw her with another man. So, it's pretty much blowing up your spot. And so that's ultimately what the idea of the video is. And obviously then hearing what they're saying leads me back to the vision I had, the experience. And also Apostle Tahar, he done another video, I don't know, even probably 2 months ago, but they took it down with the about Hitler. And so that, this video here, that these things, when I see them, the first thing that triggers in my mind is the experience that I had. And another reason, and I'm going on a bit, but you'll get to the point in a minute. So another reason is this another person that I know. See, when you look at my video, it will show you 2 views, 3 views, four views, but they clearly suppress the views because when I speak to people, they tell me that they watched the video. So I speak to one guy, he says, yeah, I watched it a couple of times. I speak to another guy, he says he watched it, and I look at the channel and it says 1 view. So this one man I know, he's Italian, of the Italian band, and he a few weeks back he approached me and he basically said to me, he said everything that you said is happening. So if you're out here teaching the way we break down the scriptures, you might find that situation happening to yourself. He came to me and he said, everything you said is happening. So I said, well, what bit? I'm not surprised when he said that. I expect what I'm telling you to happen. I expect it to happen. It's not a surprise. I was telling you 3 years ago that by 2026, these people are going to be into this war, and they're in this war. Now, in 2026, I'm telling you that Trump's going to be the last president. I'll only be surprised if someone else comes in after him. If he becomes the last president, I won't be surprised because I'm telling you from the beginning. So anyway, he said to me, I told you, he said everything you said was happening. And I said, yeah, well, that's true, but what? And he said, Iran, Russia, Iran, the small hats. And he said, you told me that when America joins Iran and goes to war, when America joins the small hats and goes to war with Iran, that's going to start World War III. You said it's going to happen like that, and it's happening like that. So I'm laughing. I'm going, yeah, well, that's what we talk. It's not just me saying that. There's other prophets, but yeah, that's what I told you. So then what I just went on to say is the next bit. That's what we do. So we give you the future, and then when you finally catch up, we'll give you the next bit. So I said to him, the thing you need to now worry about is either A, getting drafted into this war. Very soon that it's going to escalate. They're going to turn into ground invasions, and then they're going to do drafts, and then it's going to be a World War III. So at some point, countries around the world are going to call their people to go to war. That's one major thing you need to watch out for. And the second major thing you need to watch out for is the crashing of the global economy. Now, after a little conversation, blah, 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 do you know what he said to me? He said to me, and I got nothing against him for saying it. I understand why he said it, but he said to me, so I told him, so you got to watch out from now on that there's going to be some sort of global crash. You're out there working, saving your money, doing your thing, but you've got to realize that what you're working for is going to be worth nothing very soon. So you're in the midst of trying to sell up your house to buy a bigger house. I wouldn't bother wasting your time. If it was 2020, fair enough. If it was 2015. But right now, there's no point. Because by the time you settle in, we'll be out of here. So I broke it down, and then he said to me, he said, how do you know that's going to happen? How do you know that's going to happen? And I said, but I had to laugh. I said, well, hang on a minute. You started the conversation by saying everything I told you is happening. You started the conversation. You said what you said is now happening. So now I'm telling you the next bit, and then your question is, how do I know that's going to happen? And what it is, he went away. We went our separate ways, and then I thought about it, and then I saw him again. And when I saw him the next time, he tried to explain himself, and he didn't really need to, because I understood what it is. He's see, everybody has to get up in the morning, go and earn money. You have to motivate yourself to go and wake up, to go and make money, to put food on your table. But when you're telling people that it's not going to be worth anything very soon, it leaves them in limbo. And this is the whole problem that a lot of people have. Now, I'm not trying to get at that person in particular. It's all happened this particular way. It's an example, and it's a real life example of what we're explaining. See, we're going into this time We keep warning you. People are starting to see it. We're telling you things, and people are starting to open their eyes. They're like, oh, hang on a minute. You know, Apostle Tahar tells you all the time, people don't want to scoff so much anymore. But there's still a barrier with a lot of people because this world has a grip on you. How does it have a grip on you? Through the financial system, because you need money to eat. So, you know, we're just like everybody else. I'm sitting here telling you, you know, the end of society is coming. This financial system's coming. I'm waiting for it. I'm talking about it every video, and I can't wait for it to happen. But I'll still get up in the morning and go to work and make my money and come. And you know, it's like your car. You need to fix your car. So what are you going to do? You're going to do a quick repair job, or you're going to spend a lot of money and repair it properly. Now, if you're telling me the end of the world's coming, what's the point doing a proper repair job? And so this is the mindset people are in. But this is the thing you got to forget. This is the world. You're trying to hang on to a world which is about to disappear. So you can worry about your car, you can worry about your job, you can worry about your house, you can worry about this, that, and the other. Or your woman, you know, you got in a relationship where your woman's on and off. 1 minute she's with you, 1 minute she's off. You ain't got time for that, because the things that are about to come upon this earth, you ain't gonna have time to be running around after this stupid woman who can't make up her mind. So you're better off just getting rid of them. We're actually in that time now. You know, I'm not saying get rid of your woman just because of the sake of it, but if you're in a situation where it's a headache all the time, the Most High is about to put a huge headache on this whole planet for every single person, apart from the elect. So you want to hope you're part of that elect, and that's where you need the faith. And so that faith comes back into believing the prophets, understanding. You know, I understand people's problems. They got to go work. They got to make money. They got to motivate themselves. Then they got a wife. The wife's going, should we book a holiday for next year? My wife does it. She's going, let's book a holiday. She wants to go to Malta, of all places. And I said, oh, okay, that makes sense, you know, through the Spirit, why the option of Malta would come up. But I said to her, do you really want to fly out? Because there's a war going on, and what if we get stuck there? You know, and then some people, you go to work, they're talking about going away next year. You know, they want to book in a holiday in 18 months' time. You got to find that balance. You got to find that balance. End of the day, you're just trying to make it through. We ain't got much longer to live. The world you're living in is about to disappear. Once they crash the economy, there's nothing left. There's no job. Your job is worthless. Everything's worthless. You know, you're going to get hyperinflation, so you're not going to be able to afford to do anything because the cost of everything is. I mean, look at the World Cup. You know, there are people complaining. So you got the World Cup that's happening in America. Was it South America and America in about a month's time? Those stadiums are not sellouts. They're not selling out the tickets because of the cost of stuff. People ain't got the money, and that's never happened at a World Cup. But you actually might get a World Cup where there are empty seats. But like I say, this world's going to vanish and disappear. You got people saving up their money to go out there. I've got to get there. It's the World Cup, and they don't realize what's around the corner. You know, yeah, you still got to get up and go and make your money, and put food on the table for your family. But there's a you got to understand the balance. So you know, don't go chasing your lifelong dreams, thinking you're going to do this and save up and do these big things. The Most High is about to change what's happening on this earth. So it comes back to Deuteronomy 18. I went into this in the last video. True and false prophets. I'll start from 15. Moses continued, says, Yahweh, your power, will raise up for you. This is in the NLT. This is a prophet like me from among your fellow Israelites. It says, you must listen to him. And that prophet is his son. And what did they do? They put him on the cross. It says, for this is what you yourselves requested of Yahweh, your power. It says, when you were assembled at Mount Sinai. It says, you said, don't let us hear the voice of Yahweh, our power anymore, or see this blazing fire, or we will die. because they didn't want to deal with Moses. They wanted to deal directly with the Most High, and the Most High pretty much scared the life out of them. And then they said, no, 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 we will deal with the prophet. We change our minds. It says, then Yahweh said to me, it says, what they have said is right. It says, I will raise up a prophet like you from among their fellow Israelites. It says, I will put my words in his mouth, and he will tell the people everything I command him. It says, I will personally deal with anyone who will not listen to the messages the prophet proclaims on my behalf. This is, you break it down in the NLT, and it's straight to the point. I will personally deal with anyone who will not listen to the messages of the prophet that the prophet proclaims on my behalf. It says, but any prophet who falsely claims to speak in my name, or who speaks in the name of another god, must die. It says, but you may wonder, how will we know whether or not a prophecy is from the Lord, from Yahweh? So before I get into the last verse, you see, so if you're new, you got to understand that the Most High sends prophets. That's how who's going to tell you the future? The Most High. That's the clear, there are many people out there in the world that claim to be prophets of God. Then they give you these different names, so on and so forth. So where do we go with this? At which point, we get lost. You're a Roman Catholic Church. Are they telling the truth? Christianity, Islam, the Israelites. Who's telling the truth? That's your problem. That's what you've got to work out. It says, but any prophet who falsely claims to speak in my name, or who speaks in the name of another god, must die. So how come these people are still alive and doing it, speaking, but they haven't been killed? That's your day of judgment. Obviously we have reincarnation. So when you die, you can be judged in your next life or the life after that. But this whole business of calling on other gods, falsely claiming to speak in the name of, it says in the name, in my name, so in the name of Yahweh, or the business of speaking in the name of other gods, that will all end on Judgment Day. And then the Israelites will come back down, but everybody into order. It says, but you may wonder, how will we know whether or not a prophecy is from Yahweh? It says, if the prophet speaks in the Lord's name, in Yahweh's name, it says, but his prediction does not happen or come true. It says, you know that Yahweh did not give that message. It says, that prophet has spoken without my authority and need to be feared. So I do what everybody else does. These people from all these different religions. I come out and I tell you I'm speaking on behalf of Yahweh, the power of the Bible. Now that's a bold claim. And then I say, oh, you have to have faith. I'll tell you, oh yeah, how did you'd say to me, how did you find out about the Bible? I say, oh, I found out from the son, that prophet. He came to me as a ghost and he showed me everything. And then you say, well, that's quite a tall story to tell. It's quite a tall story. So, we're dealing with the Most High. He gives us ammunition to show who we are. So that's why I told you in 2023, by 2026, we're going to have this war. And the Most High waited till we got into 2026 to start this war. I've told you that Donald Trump's going to be the last president of America, and since he's got into power, you see that we're on this cusp of World War III. So now you got this man that comes to me and says to me, everything you said is happening. And I said, exactly. So why would I be surprised? I've been telling you about it. I've been hoping that you get it. And the fact that you got it, I'm quite pleased. But then I told him the next bit, and he asked me, how do you know that's going to happen? But I just showed you the proof. And that's the ammunition. So the question of faith, where do you put your faith? See, I'm not here to tell you my story to build up my faith. I'm here to tell you the story to build up your faith. And where do you put your faith? See, everybody's got faith. Some people put their faith in money. Some people put their faith in false gods and false idols. Some people put their faith in the gym and living healthy. And they say, if I live healthy like this, and I'll be right, and my mind will always be good, and my body will. Well, that's if the Most High wants to keep you that way. What else do people put their faith in? You know, some people put their faith in their family. As long as I got my family, I'm good. You've got these false religions, like I said, false gods, false worships, false philosophies, all these things. Everybody's looking to put their faith. You know, you go to the football ground and stand on the side of the pitch with 70,000 people watching the football pitch, and every one of them people has put their faith in those 11 men on the pitch running around like a madman. No, but I put my faith in you and you're letting us down. That's why they scream at these players. That's why they scream at them. You're playing shit. Wake up, blah, blah, blah. So the Most High shows you where to put the faith. You know, you go back to Matthew chapter 24. He told the disciples specifically, he told that group of people, well, they asked him, you know, how will we know when that time's come? And he said, don't worry, I'll send the Holy Spirit, you'll know. So the Holy Spirit is here, and the Most High gives you the faith. He shows you where to put your faith. Yeah, you got it. Everybody's got it. But it's where you put it. Everybody puts their faith in the wrong place. And the Most High is showing you this is where to put your faith. So you've got a man who's telling you things. You see it developing before you, to the point where you approach the man and say, it's happening. But then you still have doubt as to what he's telling you in the future. But the Most High showed you the evidence of where to put your faith into what this man says, not into that man particular, that prophet, but into what he says. And what this man is saying is Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, the understanding of these scriptures, the way GMS will break it down. That's the easiest way I can phrase it. If you want to get it from there. So that's the job. That's the job of the prophet. This, like I say, this particular prophet, where is it? I will raise up 18. I will raise up a prophet like you from among their fellow Israelites. I will put my words in his mouth and he will tell the people everything I command him. So that's the prophet that came to visit me, and that's how I found out my understanding about the scriptures. And so when, like I say, when Apostle Tahar brought this up, and he's talking about history, so on and so forth, the first thing that pings up in my mind is the vision. And then, and again, when that man's asking me the question, and I'm just thinking to myself, well, I'm giving you I'm showing you. So, you know, what else do you want me to do? It's like, you know, it's like saying to me, prove you're a chef, but I'm standing in front of you cooking. It's like, well, what do you want me to do? I just cooked a meal and I've put it on a plate. Why don't you eat it? No, prove to me you're a chef. Why don't you eat the food and taste it? It's pretty much as basic as that. Like I say, I'm not getting into it and having a go at that particular person. I understand why he did it. But it all boils back down to faith. So this vision. So what happened to me, you see, I was sitting at work and I had no understanding of the Bible, no understanding of the scriptures, and anything like that. No understanding at all. No idea that it was, you know, what languages it was originally written in. Didn't know any verses, anything. Didn't know anything. If you'd asked me at that time, you know, name me a book from the Bible, I'd just say Genesis and Revelation. And that's pretty much it. But then sitting at work, and then this spiritual entity arrived. The spiritual entity arrived, and it started to show me a vision. So the vision started off, it was a moving picture. So it started off with ancient Egypt. So you look at this, for example, this is a Bible timeline. Old Testament, New Testament. This grey area here would be represented by the Apocrypha. So really you should have I have a Bible which includes the Apocrypha. It's actually incorporated within the book. but that's something you might not find in modern day Bibles. So you might have to actually purchase an apocrypha itself. And you see here, between here, you got 400 years between testaments. So you can't just go from the Old Testament to the New Testament because you skip 400 years of history. So how can you pick up understand what's happening here, throughout the Gospels, when you've just skipped 400 years of history? And this, all ties back into, biblical scholars. When you look at Bible history, it coincides with the history of the world, including this 400 years. So it all makes sense. But what I was shown started off here in ancient Egypt, and pretty much like this, how the pyramids were. That's how I knew it was ancient Egypt. But it ended today. So the vision took me from this time to today and beyond today, to the actual day of the destruction of America. Started off with a map of the earth upside down. Hang on. I don't know why that's gone. That should be big. Yeah, so it pretty much looked like this. There's a map of the earth. It's upside down. Now the reason why it's upside down was later revealed to me in 2024. And then in 2024, Yahushua gave me a parable. You read in the scriptures, you read about Yahushua speaking in parables. He does, because when he's told me something in 2024, and what he told me was just one parable. And when I connected that parable to this particular picture, and then it all started to make sense. He said to me, I knocked you out of the chair now, and I knocked you off I knocked you out of the chair now, and I knocked you off the horse back then. So that's a parable. So now that probably means nothing to you, but to me, that makes perfect sense. And then when I understood that is in 2024, when I thought back to 2018, when I had this vision and the map was upside down, it made sense why the map was upside down. It just depends on your understanding of the scriptures. If you understand that, then it'll make sense what I'm talking about. If it makes no sense what I'm talking about, then you're missing understanding of the scriptures. But yeah, it started off with this, and ancient Egypt, it pretty much popped up here. The earth wasn't split into all these different things. It was just a landmass, but I could tell that this was like Europe, and I could tell South America and America like this. Although Greenland didn't really appear. It didn't appear like that. So then ancient Egypt came, it popped up. That's the first thing I saw. So it's like the thing appears in front of you. It's like a screen, and you're just watching it, and you're just seeing something on it. But the thing is moving. So you see this image, and it just starts to move. And the first thing I saw was big fat pyramids here, and then out of it came a branch, and instantly it started to move. So the branch started to grow over the earth in little bits and pieces, and then so pretty much all this area was just covered completely in a network of branches, which all stemmed out of these pyramids. And what it is, every time the branch got to one point and it split into two, there was a new false belief, a new false religion. Then it got to another one, it split into two. Roman Catholic split into that one. Christianity split into this one. Hindu split into that. So everything, all these religions. I've done videos before, just looking up any old religion from the ancient times. It's there. You'll find, you think of it and it's there. It was all there. I remember sitting after the vision, sitting on Google and looking up stuff and realizing that what I was shown was historically correct, because I was looking up dates of certain empires and religions and belief systems. So network of branches, it built up here. So by this time, I'm not even looking at Egypt. Egypt's like gone. I'm just staring over here, and then the network of branches ended up on the borders here, and then one piece jumped over to South America, and then I looked back, and then another piece came over to America. You know, America's there, but in the vision it was like this. I saw this big bit, and then pretty much the sword just chopped through the whole thing. So that's the how shall I show me? I'm gonna do this place. I'm gonna do them. I'm gonna I'm gonna swipe them, chop them, whatever, destroy them. Pretty much Babylon the Great, America. So you know you got that's what I say. You got GMS. They say, oh yeah, Babylon the Great is America. And then you got other people that say, no, it isn't. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. From what I learned, you know that day of destruction, the day of the Lord, when the Most High comes to take the people out of His people, the elect of Israel out of captivity. Regardless of whatever everybody wants to break it down, I know it is America because I was shown America. I was shown this bit of landmass, and I showed the sword chopping through it. And in my understanding, in the vision, it was America. Now I know here it says Canada. It's all about proportion. You know, I'm pretty sure Brazil's a little bit bigger than that. But anyway, you know, you look at different maps. For example, at different portion. So you could say it was like that, and the sword went through it. So that was part one, the vision. You know, I'm sitting in my chair. Next thing you know, this energy force just appeared on my left. You look at it, you're mesmerized. You're just like, what the fuck is this, basically? And then it's just like it's you seeing something. There were a couple of colors, like the branches were brown, and like the land was on the earth was like barren and dry. I remember underneath the pyramid, it was like a brown color, and then the pyramids were a slightly different brown, and then yeah, whatever. It just the branch came out, and whatever else. So that happened. As soon as the sword swiped through America, I kind of like a bit taken aback, and then before you can even contemplate it and consider it, how shall I move on to the next thing? Now the next thing was like a message. He showed me a 3-part message. He showed me. He pretty much said to me, you know, I got to speak in code, obviously. So he pretty much told me Hitler was right. That's the first thing he said. Hitler was right. The small hats are fake, but he didn't say that. He used the J word, the JJs. The JJs pretty much. Hitler was right. The JJs are fake. The Bible's for you. So each each one of them statements is enough to blow your world. You remember at the time I never knew this. I never knew any of this truth, secrets, whatever. I never knew that. That's how I learned. So I'm kind of like thrown back. I'm thinking, what? This is a lot of information to take in. You know, you just said that the Bible was for me, which is a lot to take in. But what about the first thing? I'm still trying to get over this. You know, you said he's right. How would you expect him? Imagine that. Imagine that. Yahushua came and he spoke to me about Hitler. And you think, fucking hell, of all the things, you know, you wouldn't expect it. You wouldn't expect and he said they were right. He said he was right. So you're thinking, right about what? Do you know what I mean? Because the only people that really like say he's right are Nazis, neo-Nazis, and all these other people, whatever they call themselves. These I forgot what they called yeah, they're pretty much, I don't know, Nazis, whatever the modern day version of these people, whatever they believe in. You get people that believe in it. You know, they're the only people that would really ever back him up. But for the Son of the Most High to come to me and then say, first of all, to bring up his name, I was like, fucking hell. And then he goes, oh, the JJs are fake. So I'm like, what? And then he's like, the Bible's for you. So this is what it is. This is where eventually I knew I had to get someone to explain the Bible to me, but they had to tell me those two things. They had to break down that the JJs are fake. So that's where eventually I found One West. It took me about 6 months, then pretty much found the One West doctrine, which is that. And then I realized there are people teaching this school of thought, and then after watching those different camps and filtering it out, eventually ended up at GMS, because you realize no, these ones have actually got the true bit of information. And back to faith, I had to show faith, because when I had this vision and all this understanding that I was given, I wasn't given anything about the MOTB. And then so when I came to GMS, the first thing I needed to understand was this MOTB thing, because nobody else was really explaining it in as much detail. And I had to put faith in that. I had to believe, no, these people have got to be. I know everybody keeps saying this, but they're breaking it down pretty well. So even in that aspect, I had to put my faith, and by putting my faith in it, I believe that's what the Most High opens up more of my understanding. So now I understand it, so I can explain it to you from beginning to end. So he gave me that message. Hitler was right. The JJs are fake. The Bible's for you. And then the last thing I saw, or the second to last thing I saw, he showed me was the Earth spinning. So that message kind of went, and then you can see here like this picture of the shit. Would I keep doing that? The Earth appeared like this, and it was spinning around, and around it was deceit. It was covered in total deceit, and I was pretty disgusted by it. I was like, wow, is that really how bad it is? Like he showed me that the world's like, it was like nothing is true. It's like I looked at it and I just thought nothing is actually true on this planet. Nothing. To the point where ever since I had that vision, if I'm ever in a situation and I'm like 50-50, oh, is he lying? Is he not lying? I don't know. I just think, you know what, he probably is lying. I just sway towards he is, because of what I saw. I was shown that much deceit. And then I'm looking at you now, 50-50, I don't know if this person's lying. Do you know what? You probably are. Because it goes back to the scriptures, Revelation 20:3. And after that, he must be loosened a little season. Who must be loosened? We go to verse 2. The dragon, the old serpent, which is the devil, Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So, during the time of what they call the Dark Ages, these Edomites were, pretty much in the Caucasus, in the Caucasus Mountains. That's why they call themselves Caucasians. And they came out after that. They have a time called Renaissance, which means rebirth. I've had arguments with Edomites before. They go, no, that's not true. This, that, and the other. I said, so why do you have an era called rebirth? If you didn't go anywhere and you didn't disappear and you were here the whole time running everything, why did you have an era called rebirth? What did you rebirth yourself from? From living as kings? How does that make sense? They're like, no, that's what they do. They just argue with you. So you look up the history, they tell you, we had a time called Renaissance, rebirth. And then before that, we had a time called the Dark Ages. Well, the Dark Ages, they were living in the Caucasus. And after they came out of that, they called themselves Caucasian. Until these 1,000 years should be fulfilled, the Dark Ages. After that, he must be loosened a little season. So you're living in that time. And that goes back to what I saw. So that was the vision. And then at the end, Yahushua flew over the top, pretty much passed over the top. He showed me that he was passing over me. So, you go back to, so what happened then? Obviously, as you can imagine, I was pretty gobsmacked. I was pretty shocked. Didn't really know what to do with myself. I'm in work, I'm in my office, and I just had a visitation from the Son of God. And then I'm just baffed. I'm just totally baffled. So I looked up a few of the things he told me, and I realised, fucking hell, them dates he gave me were right. When he showed me like the order when the branch came out over the earth and all these religions popped out, and then it went to America, I could see that that pattern is correct according to the historical timelines when you look at the dates. And that's how I started realizing, shit, he really like hit details in it. And then I looked up. So I just typed in Revelation. I didn't really know what I was looking for. I typed it up, and then I found some video came up, and it was just reading chapter 7. So I read it, and then this thing came up. And after these things, I saw, so Revelation chapter 7, and after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, it says, nor on any tree. It says, I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living power. It says, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees. It says, till we have sealed the servants of our power in their foreheads. So I read that straight away, and then I came across that, and I was like, shit, that, I didn't even bother reading the rest. I was like, okay, so this is there's a reason why. Like, I've just had that. I've gone online, I've typed in Revelation. The first thing that's popped up is 7. I've hit it, and that's come up. And so then I realized that. At first, I was like, so that angel is the one that just came and sealed me, because now she obviously gave me all that understanding, which I didn't have, 10 minutes ago. And then obviously later I realized it was Yahushua. Well, I knew at the time it was Yahushua, because at the time I knew that there is a God and this is his son. I knew that while I was looking at him. I was like, there is a power, higher power, and you're his son. That's what came up in my mind. And then I read this and I thought, so is he the angel that saying, hurt not the earth or the sea? It says, till we have sealed them. I don't know. Or maybe it's just another angel. A lot of the time in the Old Testament, I believe when they would say the angel did this, and I believe that is Yahushua, but can't really prove it. So that was my encounter. And like I say, the reason why I tell you that story is to build up your faith. I don't need to build up my faith from having that experience. I'm quite happy. But you're the one that's you obviously go into the scriptures, you take an understanding from it, you believe that that's the right understanding, you have enough belief to take it out on the streets and teach and push it, strongly. So you've got this faith in you. The reason why I repeat my stories is to tell you what your understanding is real. All this supernatural stuff, all this magical stuff happening, Holy Spirit's coming down, giving information to people. That's exactly how it happened. And that's how it happened to me. Back to what I said in the beginning. But how do I know it's going to happen? Because I've already told you what's going to happen. So the Most High is showing you the window where to put your faith. He said, this man will come, he'll come with a message, and I'll give him a little bit of power to show you that he'll speak something and you'll see it develop. It's enough for you to approach him and say everything you said was happening. So then should you really ask me if what I'm about to tell you is going to happen next, whether that's going to happen? They're going to crash the economy. They're definitely going to do it because they have to bring the MOTB. The MOTB is more important than oil. It's more important than all the money in the world. It's more important than owning the banks. Yeah, they own the banks and they've owned everything up until now. But once they get that chip in you, it's game, set, match. They are pretty much gods of the human race. They just want to turn you off. They just turn you off. Mind manipulation, so on and so forth. So that's what it boils down to. The Most High, he put his he sent his son pretty much to deliver the elect. And if you have the faith in what we're telling you, the understanding, then he'll show you that your faith is in the right place, and to keep it there, to build it up and make it stronger. So that's what I'm doing. I'm showing you, look, these things happen, and what what you're breaking down is exactly the way I saw it. How do you know that I'm just telling you some old story? Well, I'm telling you things that are happening, and you're seeing them happen. So we've just gone full circle. Um, yeah, Psalms 83. And they consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. And that went back to the Apostle Tahar when he brought out this new Babylon video. I'll leave the link for this in the description box if you haven't seen it. They go into like these truths and hidden things. These other nations have consulted against us. That's why it takes a higher power to come and break these chains. This is why they can't stop it. They can't really stop it. They don't like it. All of a sudden there's this whole army of people online bombarding the internet with information that they've tried to keep secret for years. And how are we able to do it? Because we have the Holy Spirit. And like Psalms 83 tells you, they all know this information. All these nations know it. They're all confederate. And it goes back to what Yahushua said to me. He told me Hitler was right. The JJs are fake. The scriptures are for you. What is a parable? I didn't go into that one actually. A parable is a short, simple story designed to illustrate a moral, ethical, or spiritual lesson through comparison. That's what he does. So that's what he gave me when he hit me with that parable. But yeah, Hitler was right. Right about what? I can't remember what I was going to read from here. So Adolf Hitler knew who true jewels of the Most High were. So it boiled down to two different things. I boiled it down to two different things. And he said to me, Hitler was right. It boiled down to two things. Either Hitler he's talking about, because obviously Hitler mentioned, see, this is what it is. This is the problem. You live in a world where they'll call it a conspiracy. You see it written here. Hitler knew the true jewels of who the Most High were. The true jewels of God were. So that type of information, you look it up in this world and they'll say, that's conspiracy, this, that and the other. So it's hard to find it. But I got given that information from Yahushua. So I know it's true. Part of the parable on that situation, I had to ask myself, well, what is it that he was right about? So it could only be two possible things. Because he then said to me, don't forget that the JJs are fake. He then said the scriptures are for you. I then found GMS or One West, and they're showing me that, oh, look, fake JJs, blah, blah, blah. So then you start working it all out. And then you go, okay, so there's two things that when you said Hitler was right, there's two things you spoke about. One is this. Hitler said that even in his death, he would start World War III. And are we not on the edge of World War III? And Iran just sent out this old Lego video, New Babylon. Spitting all this truth and information to the so-called black people of America. We're trying to tell you that these nations are consulted together with one consent. They're confederate against thee, so you don't get this information. I'm telling you, I received it through a vision. How do you know I'm telling you the truth? Because I told you by 2026 we're going to be having this war. And now I'm breaking down the parables of Yahushua himself. And one of them is Hitler was right. And what did Hitler say? When they find out what I said, they're going to start World War III. It says one of his soldiers asked him how. It says Adolf Hitler replied, the day mankind finds out what I was trying to defend this nation, Germany, from, then that's the day World War III will start. It says on that day, mankind will learn that I was trying to save my nation from the Freemasons, the Illuminati, the Jews. So there's your second thing. There's two things. So when Yahushua said to me, he was right, you got to ask yourself what? About what? And there's two possible things. Either he's mentioned about the Israelites being in America, or the fact that you've got this Illuminati, this secret cabal, so on and so forth, trying to run the world. Now, he was one of them himself. I believe he was a small hat himself, but the reason why he came through them, obviously when they started off World War Two, they're all in on it. They only started the war to reset the economy, so they do that. But then he got it into his head that he can just take power while they're in the midst of a war, and that's why ultimately he starts coming out and telling everybody, "I want to chop these small hats." Now you say find that funny. Why does he want to chop up the small hats when he is a small hat? Because he knew within the small hats that that's where the community that are going to eventually run the world today. They're within it. So really, he had the right idea. If he'd got away with what he'd wanted to get away with, there'd be none of this 1948 business wouldn't be going on today. Because so really, the Most High couldn't let him win to allow prophecy to be fulfilled. But he obviously fought for a cause against the West, and that's according to conspiracy, this is what they say it was. According to Yahweh Shai, all he told me was that Hitler was right about what, and that's what I'm reading here. The day mankind finds out what I was trying to defend this nation from then, that's the day World War III will start. It says, for on that day mankind will learn that I was trying to save my nation from the Freemasons, the Illuminati, and the JJs. For if the Americans win the war, World War II, it says then they will conquer the world and forever be a slave to the JJs, and they will try to conquer the Most High. So is that not exactly how we break down the Bible? That's exactly where we are today. He's talking about the JJs, Amalek. Um, you know, to conquer the Most High is the MOTB. That's what they want to do. And do they not already have the world as slaves? 1% have the money while the rest of us do all the work. And like I say, when they transfer that over to the MOTB, a digital system where you're trapped into it, then they really become your Most High. It says, do you know who America has in its possession? It says, no, the soldier replied. It says, the Americans have the jewels of God. It says, the Americans have stolen God's precious jewels. It says, what do you mean, his precious jewels? The soldier asked. Hitler replied, America has stolen the Israelites. Let's just say the Israelites. He's got the J word, but it's obviously, you can see what's written there. The JJs of the Most High, but not the JJs, the J's of the Most High. It says his jewelry. It says the Negroes, they are the true Hebrews. So that's exactly what I believe Yahushua was showing me, because obviously, like I say, from that helped me to find One West, because obviously they're the only people that are going to tell you about the Negroes in America being Israelites. And obviously, like I say, when you filter through that, you work your way through to GMS, and then you have a more refined doctrine which is in line with the spirit of Yahweh Shai. It says, what a foolish move and direct challenge to the Most High. It says, and they plan on moving, this is these false white JJs, into a state of Israel. So that is obviously 1948. America is desperate in its attempt to win the war using atom bombs in Japan. America will destroy the whole world in its attempt to conquer it. When America and its JJ's slave master conquer the world, it says, and the world realizes that I was right. So he's right. So Yahweh Shai told me he was right. It says, then all nations will begin World War III to dethrone America of its rule. So you can sit here and throw what you want at me. It's conspiracy. It's this, it's that, whatever. Yeah, whatever. But I was told by Yahweh Shai that Hitler was right. That's his exact words. Hitler was right. The JJs are fake. The Bible's for you. And this is exactly what he's talking about. He says that because and he says, and the whole world and the world realizes that I was right. And that's exactly what Yahweh Shai said. Every nation will soon possess atom bombs of their own. It says it will be the end of the most of the world as we know it. says, why will the JJs control America? The soldier asked. And Hitler answered, because the white JJs know that the Negroes are the real children of Israel. And to keep America secret, the JJs will blackmail America. It says the JJs will extort America. It says their plan for world domination would not work if the Negroes knew who they were. It says the white citizens of America will be terrified to know that all this time they've been mistreating, discriminating, and lynching the children of Israel. It says they will fear the Most High. They will fear the Most High will destroy them as he destroyed Egypt, just like it says in the Bible. It says for doing the same thing. It says so the elite, the Illuminati, keep this a secret at all costs. It says after I die, I will one day cause World War III just by this message, which will be like planting a seed in people's minds until it sprouts. So once they nurture that seed and seek more truth and learn Hitler was right. Did not Yahushua tell me that Hitler was right? I did the world a favor by killing false JJs before they designated a full state of Israel. It says, but I feel I have failed and the world will fall into the hands of Satan. So he didn't fail really, because prophecy's had to be done. See, this is what the Most High does, right? He creates a person to do a job, right? Could be Donald Trump, could be this guy on the screen, and he got to get them to do a mighty work, which is to bring like a world war and to do a madness. So he's got to put one hell of a spirit on these people to do it, and they're so fixated and stuck within that spirit that even when he's dying, he's like, I still didn't do it right. Now, don't worry, bruv. You done what you were supposed to do. Everything went perfect according to prophecy. It went perfect. So nothing was but wrong. Nothing was but right. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. But he's so wound up on that spirit that's given to him to do what he's doing that even when he's dying, he was like, nah, I didn't do enough. It's like Donald Trump now. Blind. He's like a rhinoceros, skin like a rhinoceros. Everybody's telling him he's wrong, he's this, he's that. He knows what he's doing. He's a businessman. He knows what he's doing. He went to Venezuela, he secured oil, and then he went to the Strait of Hormuz and he made a problem for the world. Yeah, he went to Venezuela and secured his own stock of oil, and then he went to the Strait of Hormuz and blew up the spot. So now the whole world's talking about economy and problems, and the MOTB is incoming very soon. And that's that JJ's plan to rule the world and be as the Most High. And Hitler was right. So I didn't even realize it. So is that his date of birth? 1889 to 1945, and so he didn't even make it to the 1948. So this is before 1948. So if this is true, is it true? Is it not true? Well, he said this before 1948, and look what's happened since then. They've actually had the state installed, and they're there, and they're doing exactly what he told you they were doing. What he told you there is pretty much what we're telling you, but we're telling you from a biblical perspective. He's just telling you from his perspective. And like I say, Yahushua, that's one of the things he told me, one of the secrets. So if you make it to the spirit world anytime soon, you can ask Yahushua, did I tell the truth? I did. How do you know I'm telling the truth? Because I told you in World War III, this whole thing by 2026. I said by 2026, Most High waited until we got into 2026. I'll live with that. I was still on time and early enough to be prepared, and that's all that really counts. Same thing with Donald Trump being the last president. It all goes back to the world being turned upside down. That was revealed to me in 2024 with the parable about the horse. And then when I understood it, I understood then clearer. I know Apostle Tahar said that Donald Trump is Nero reincarnated, and then when it all clicked, and then I understood why the world was upside down. He's the man that's going to turn everything upside down, and he's doing that. He's doing it now. Everybody's going, "Oh, you're messing up." There was no problem in the Strait of Hormuz, and now there's a problem in the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, yeah, he's order out of chaos. There's your chaos, and he's getting ready to slap with order. That's why I say, you see him doing all these rituals, and showing you, whatever he's been trying to show you. These little messages go out. They got something in the pipeline, and it's coming real soon. It's called Jacob's Trouble, the end of the world. There's time like never been seen before. So, we're talking about it. Things look a little bit hairy today. This is nothing. This little war going on in Iran today is nothing. And this little start problem with the economy and fuel prices going up. This is just scratching the surface, man. This is nothing. Wait till like 70% of the people in your city are starving, and that's when you're gonna really know what judgment is. Because you got to spend a few extra quid on petrol to get down the road. That's judgment. That's not judgment. When you're starving for like 3, 4 days, 5 days a week, and you look down the street and only one person's eating all week, that's judgment, and that's the kind of shit the Most High is bringing. As well as other things, as well as wars, natural, weather events. You're gonna have obviously, MOTB, people's sedition, so on and so forth. So how we explain it is we explain it perfectly. That's why everything we've told you up until now is going according to plan, and it's not going to change. This is not a man-made plan. This is not like your plan for the day. When you wake up and go, okay, this is what I'm going to do today, then all of a sudden something goes wrong because you got a flat tire, or your car battery's dead, or you got stuck in traffic, so you got late for that meeting, and now your whole day's out of whack. We're talking about Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, the Most High, the King of the universe. If he wants something to happen, it's going to go down the way he wants it to go down. He's written everything in the scriptures, and he has to abide by his word. So, before I go, what else have I got left here? Hitler views on Illuminati Freemasonry. Adolf Hitler and the Nazi regime viewed Freemasonry as dangerous, international, and largely JJ's controlled conspiracy that threatened the racial unity and national security of Germany. So this is what I'm saying. If he's a JJ himself, but yet he wants to chop up all his people, that's because he knows within it the secret societies, and they're looking to run and take over everything. And you go to mainstream media and they'll tell you he's crazy for that thinking, but look around you in the world today. Has the same thing not been exposed? So anyway, he believed that Freemasons worked in tandem with JJs to create a Judo-Masonic conspiracy to weaken the state through internationalism, pacifism, and elite influence. Consequently, Freemasonry was outlawed, and between 80,000 and 200,000 Masons were killed during his era. Core views. JJ instrument. Hitler believed Freemasonry had succumbed to JJ influence, serving as a tool for elite behind-the-scene influence over upper-class society. Hostile to the state because of its secretive nature and international connections, the regime classified it as an existential threat, often accusing it of having no race consciousness. Targeted elimination. The Nazis aimed to eliminate the fraternity, confiscate its assets, and destroy its literature. In 1934 to 1935, officials including Hermann Göring and Wilhelm Frick officially forced the closure of lodges and branded them as hostile agents. Anti-Masonic propaganda. They organized grand anti-Masonic exhibitions to expose secrets and promote anti anti-S's theories, like the Protocols of Elders of Zion, blah blah blah, which wrongly alleged JJ Masonic plot to rule the world. Views on the Illuminati. While the historical Bavarian Illuminati is short-lived, 1776 to 1784, Nazi propaganda often conflated the Illuminati with the broader Freemasonry JJ conspiracy theories. Secret society narrative in the context of Nazism focuses on spiritual enemies. The idea of a hidden world-controlling elite was used to justify the repression of any group that practices secrecy, including those linked to or accused of being part of an Illuminati-like structure. Basically, he just didn't like them, and anything he could do to clamp down on them, he would, even put them to death. Freemasons sent to camps wore the inverted red triangle, political prisoners, because they were there as political prisoners. In 1942, he gave Alfred Rosenberg authority to conduct intellectual war against Masons, allowing the seizure of archives and libraries for ideological warfare. Forced disillusion, even conservative German lodges that tried to accommodate the regime were systematically closed. So he just weren't having it, and he was a JJ, and but why was he going after JJs? Because he knew that within that group of people, they don't care about this, they don't care about that. They just got these secret societies, and they got international connections, and he classed them as a threat, an existential threat. You see, you got all this information here to explain it to you. And because I'm speaking it, and you see all the words that come up on the algorithm, they'll shadow ban my video, so it will come up with 2 or 3 views. The information is here on Google to read and to understand what he was fighting against. But they don't really want you to know. They rather you just sit there and say, he's a madman, he's crazy. Yeah, he had some wild ideas, and he did a whole lot of damage, and let's just forget about him. Let's move on from him. That's what they want you to think. They don't actually want you to check what he was fighting for, because he was fighting to tell you that these people have got the stranglehold on you. And that's exactly what we tell you, through the scriptures, through the power of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. And through the power of Yahweh Shai, telling me Hitler was right. Right about what? Right about this. There's another question. Were the ancient Hebrew Israelites feared? And straight categoric answer is yes. It says the ancient Hebrew Israelites were feared by surrounding nations primarily for their sheer numbers, increasing power, and the perceived awesome power of their God. It says Egyptians in particular feared they would join with enemies and cause a massive revolt. However, the Israelites themselves were also frequently paralyzed by fear of their oppressors, especially the Egyptian army. So, key reasons, numerical growth, political threat, historical memory. This talks about Hyksos, an Asiatic group that had previously invaded the occupied Nile Delta, leading to fears of another such takeover, military success. Instances of fear experiences by Israelites at the Red Sea, at Sinai. These other nations feared us. They feared us. We had all these numbers and to talk about numbers and that, but it doesn't really mention spiritual power. You go to the book of Joshua and you read about spiritual power, taking over armies, with spiritual power. So, calling on Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, calling on the names, so on and so forth. So ultimately, what they're scared of is you having the name Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, knowing you're an Israelite, knowing that you can call on that to get yourself out of trouble. Imagine this, right? You live in this world today as the world is, and all these problems come across, you come across these certain problems. But you don't have, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but not everybody has people in particular they can just call on. I can't just call on a lawyer every time I want to call one. I have to find one, pay him money, get him to listen to my story. So, you know, but we have a name we can call on for anything. Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. We don't need to go to a certain office. We don't need to go anywhere. We don't need to make an appointment. We just need to obey, what he wants. Obviously, we're not under the law, but you just have to repent from why you didn't have that name, come back to that name, call upon that name, and come all this trouble, Jacob's trouble, so on and so forth. Lord willing, you're not part of it. But it all boils down to faith. Once you have the name, you still got to have the faith. It's all good saying, yeah, I got the faith, I got the faith. But when people are put in front of certain scenarios and situations, their whole life flashes up before their eyes. They see I do it. You say something to me and my wife and my daughter flash up in front of my eyes. Oh shit, I got to make sure that they're all right at the same time though, as well as you saying this. So it's a normal part of everyday life. But at the same time, you got to have that faith that the Most High is going to protect you, keep you going through these situations, scenarios. So if you're working hard to try and put food on the table, and I'm telling you very soon that money's going to be worth nothing, still do what you're doing, because we don't know when, and you still got to eat. And if you believe in Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, if you truly, truly, truly believe in those names, you call upon those names, you lean on those names, then He may deliver you in that time of Jacob's trouble. So I hope that was edifying. I'm going to leave it right there. Until next time, all praises to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakak Wadash. Until next time, Shalom.